Are you sad that Senator Lindsey Graham has died?
No, I'm not sad. I'm not celebrating it either. He argued for wars, including this Iran war that outlives him. He never met a Middle East country he didn't want to invade.
Sometimes a single question exposes a double standard. Piers Morgan thought he'd corner Mehdi Hasan with a simple question about Lindsey Graham. Instead, Mehdi turned the conversation into a sharp critique of Graham's political record and challenged the selective outrage that often dominates these debates. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Let's get straight into it.
Foreign policy, as you know, is fraught with a whole bunch of different issues. I've traveled with the president all over the world. We went to North Korea, actually, China, et cetera, to deal with some of the geopolitical threats that this country faces. Now, they're not imminent threats. They're more economic. They're not military in nature, in that they're not doing kinetic activity in the moment and funding terrorism to try and kill Americans, which Iran, as you pointed out, clearly has done. But most news reports pretty clearly have pointed out different pockets within this Iranian regime. And as Donald Trump said, we kind of did get rid of the regime because we killed everybody in line for control of Iran. However, there are two basically competing groups. One, very militant. I'm going to use the word old school to define, use the words old school to define them. They're the ones who really want to continue down the path of death and destruction, stated goals of killing Americans, killing Jews, et cetera, versus ones who may be a little bit more moderate. And I guarantee you this administration has spoken to both factions in both groups. It appears that when we do move toward a memorandum of understanding, it's because we've had conversations with those who tend to be a little bit more sensible and maybe care about the well-being of their own people. And then, of course, those who don't, who have killed many tens of thousands of their own people, tend to take control by striking targets, killing civilians, and then Donald Trump has to change.
This reminds me, you know what this reminds me of, though? Hogan, it reminds me of the scorpion and the frog tale, which I won't repeat because everybody knows it, but it reminds me about the scorpion. Scorpions tend to behave like scorpions. I just want to end very quickly, Mehdi, because we run out of time.
Hold on. Just on the Iran point, I've got to say very quickly.
No, you can't. You can't, because I've got another guest waiting.
Well, I waited half an hour to come on this show, and then you'd save my vocal cord. So let me just say this. The Iranian regime, to say there's been regime change in Iran is gaslighting of the highest order.
I agree.
We've replaced Ayatollah Khamenei with Ayatollah Khamenei, a more radical, hardline version, who has much more of an incentive to get
Mehdi, I agree with you 100%. So let's forget that. I just want to ask you very finally, Mehdi, are you sad that Senator Lindsey Graham has died?
No, I'm not sad. I'm not celebrating it either, as you suggested in your introduction. I think it's a bit of a straw man to say everyone's celebrating his death. I think as journalists, Piers, you and I, we hold power accountable. We speak truth to power. I'm not of the school that says when a politician dies, a public figure dies, we treat them like a private figure and just shut up. I don't think journalism should turn into hagiography. At Zeteo, for example, we published a list of what Graham said and did. We just let the facts speak for themselves. He was a man who said awful things, genocidal things, racist things, and we put that on the record for people to see. That doesn't mean he didn't also do, I'm sure, good things in Congress as well. But overwhelmingly, he argued for wars, including this Iran war that outlives him, that killed 100 schoolgirls on day one of the war. He argued for the Iraq war that you and I opposed, that killed over 1 million people. He never met a Middle East country he didn't want to invade. And I think that's how we should remember him. We should remember the full record. The problem is when powerful people die, people in our media, especially mainstream corporate media, want to just do hagiography and say, what a wonderful person they were. Weren't they lovely? And I'm sure many of those powerful people were lovely and they have families who love them. But as journalists, our job is to say, here's what they did. Here's the truth about their life and record. Here's an accurate obituary. And with Lindsey Graham, the man has a ton of blood on his hands and we shouldn't just forget that.
No one's asking anyone to forget the record of politicians, but I do think in the immediate aftermath of public figures dying, unless they're genocidal maniacs like, Hitler or Mao or Stalin, Hogan, there should be a modicum of respect for the death of a human being. And my issue with this, it doesn't just relate to the left.
Tell that to Donald Trump.
Well, I was going to make the point. I mean, Hogan, I presume you would be appalled by the reaction from many on the left to Lindsey Graham's death, as I have been.
There aren't many on the left.
But of course, there are many, actually. I've seen so much of it online.
And it's honestly, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris,
honestly,
every prominent Democrat
it is disgusting. It was after Charlie Kirk got murdered. It is disgusting. However, my question
you didn't call Donald Trump disgusting, Piers. You didn't call Donald Trump disgusting.
If you let me do my
when
job,
he said it about Rob Reiner.
If you let me host my own show, I was about
to let me speak at equal amount of time, I will.
Hogan Gidley, if given that we should all be able to condemn the reaction of the left to the death of Lindsey Graham and to Charlie Kirk and others on the right, would you also condemn the way that Donald Trump has talked about Robert Mueller, Rob Reiner, and others that he doesn't like who die when he trashes them in public quite quickly? Because I never like him doing that. I always think it's wrong, particularly given he's the president of the United States.
Well, do you condemn what they said and lied about Donald Trump as well? Both Rob Reiner and Robert Mueller?
Well, I don't think that's a relevant point. Everyone's entitled to criticize the president of the United States. The point is, should the president use his pulpit to attack Rob Reiner when he's just been murdered? I don't think he should.
Those people have attacked him. He responded in kind. Listen, I was executive director of the South Carolina Republican Party in Lindsey Graham's era. I've known the man for a long time. Was he right on every issue? Did I agree with him on every issue? No. But he loved his country. He loved his constituents in the state of South Carolina. He loved being a United States senator.
So did Robert Mueller.
You can hate his policies. You can not like some of his votes. I got crossways with him a couple of times. Remember, in the first Trump administration, he wasn't on board with Donald Trump's closed border policies by any stretch. On the North Lawn, I said when I was at the state party in South Carolina, he got booed off the stage for supporting George W. Bush's amnesty. We called him Grahamnesty for a reason. And his staff called me and said, hey, you know you're off the Christmas card list, right? We laughed about it, and Lindsey Graham finally came on board with the proper policy, which is to protect the American people first. And he cozied up to Donald Trump because he knew that he had enough power and sway within the United States Senate to get things done for the America First movement. He was a patriot. You can disagree with him, Mehdi, all you want to. You can not like the wars. I don't like the wars either. But the fact is, the man was a public servant his entire life.
But I didn't say good. I'm glad he's dead.
You know what?
I didn't say good. I'm glad he's dead.
I think it would be nice. I think it would be nice in public life if every time a big American public servant, someone's given their life to public life in America or the UK, anywhere actually, if both sides just manage to show a modicum of respect when somebody dies. I don't think it's too much to ask. Then he can get into the legacy stuff. Give it a beat. Give it a day or two.
The problem is, you say you're on.
That's my view.
Hold on. Let me make this point. Last point, then you can cut me off. You say you're in the middle and fair on this. You said the left yesterday. I read your tweet.
Yeah.
Despicably cruel, heartless, and abusive. The least kind people on earth.
Yeah.
You did not say that when Donald Trump said the same thing to Mueller and Reiner.
Actually,
I checked.
I have regularly criticised him.
I checked. You said take away his phone.
I have regularly criticised him. I have regularly called him out when he does that.
You did
I didn't
not call
like
him
him doing it
heartless
with
and
John
abusive.
McCain or Colin
But you didn't
Powell
call him despicably
or Rob
cruel.
Reiner. No, I do think it's despicable. So let me be clear.
You do think?
Right?
Okay, good.
But there's
I love
nothing.
it when we end
to
on
me, there's
agreement.
nothing
We
more
both agree it was
hypocritical.
despicable.
Nothing more hypocritical than people with the hashtag #BeKind in their bio on social media.
Do you think it's despicably cruel for Donald Trump to attack the Kennedy family on the day their granddaughter Tatiana Schlossberg
when
died?
they die? That is the least be kind thing imaginable. Anyway, I'm going to be kind and put your voice out of its misery. Thank you, Mehdi. Always good to have you. And Hogan, I always appreciate you coming on too. So thank you very much indeed for giving me your time.
Thank you.
So, there you have it. Mehdi Hasan didn't celebrate Lindsey Graham's death. He argued that public figures should be remembered by their full public record, while Piers Morgan challenged the tone and timing of that criticism. What did you make of the exchange? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest political coverage. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.